Hello, and welcome to Maximal Fire. I'm Alex, and this is Getting Started with Adeptus Titanicus in 2024. So with the release of Legions Imperialis, you've got all excited about epic scale wargaming, but you've decided that Legions Imperialis is not quite for you. The models are too small, they're a bit too finicky, maybe it's just a little bit too expensive. So instead, your eye is being drawn to this other game, Adeptus Titanicus, released by Games Workshop in 2018. Despite the fact that these are massive titans duking it out over a war zone, it is very simply a skirmish game. You generally need between 3 to 6, maybe sometimes a little bit more models to complete a game, and for a 1750 point game, which is the general points that you're going to be playing at, you only actually need 5 models. This means that although the models on their own are arguably quite expensive, you don't actually need that many to play, and whereas a 40k army or even a Legions Imperialis army could cost you upwards of £500 or £600, you can find with Adeptus Titanicus that you can be playing at a normal points value for a fraction of the cost. So what do you buy? There's a lot of stuff out there, some of it's in stock, some of it's not in stock at the moment. What do you need to save your money up for? Well, I'm going to provide you with a breakdown of the 5 things which are most important for you to get started and playing Adeptus Titanicus today. In number 1 is the obvious choice, the Adeptus Titanicus starter box set. In here, you get 2 Warhounds, 2 Reavers, 2 Cerastus Knights, and everything that you need to play the game. This is a fantastic value box set which comes in at £105 if you're buying direct from Games Workshop. However, most local friendly gaming stores will do this at a fraction of the cost, usually knocking somewhere between 10 to 20% off. If you were to go to Entoyment today, you would be able to pick this up for $89.25, which for the models which come inside it is actually incredibly good value. Like with most starter sets that Games Workshop provide, and because the models within the box are generic by nature, they are not necessarily aligned to one faction or another, which means that you can constantly keep rebuying starter sets to continue to build out your force. There is a little bit of an in-joke within the Adeptus Titanicus community that the starter set isn't really a starter set, it's a maniple box at a really good value, and it's really common that people will buy multiple of these. I personally, with all of the Titans that I've got behind me here, I'm somewhere in the region of my 9th or 10th, possibly even 11th starter set so far. So you've got your starter set, but what next? Well, your next stop is going to be your allegiance books. Now these come in loyalist variety and they also come in traitor variety, so you should probably sit down and make a decision as to what force you're going to actually play. Do you fancy fighting for the Renegade Warmaster, or are you someone who sees themselves as a stalwart defender of the Imperium, fighting by the Emperor's side at the Imperial gates? If you have a preference in advance, then you should definitely buy one of these 2 books. If you don't necessarily know yet, I would say go and buy yourself the Traitor one, purely because it's the most recent publication and has slightly more updated rules in it. However, if you are going to be playing as Gryphonicus or Astorum, or you already know which Loyalist Legio you want to play as, pick up the Loyalist book. Otherwise, if you're going to be a dirty traitor, pick up the Traitor book. These come in at £32.50 directly from Games Workshop, and you can often get them at a markdown as well from your local friendly gaming stores. Entoyment again, $27.63. Within these you will find everything that you need to expand your gameplay beyond what is in the core box set. You'll find all of the updated maniple rules, you will find Legio rules with Legio specific rules for every published traitor or loyalist Legio. There is war gear options, and there is also the allegiance specific options such as corruptions for the traitors or the sight item for the loyalists. Whichever way you choose, buying one of these books is an essential second step on your way to playing AT. So what's next? You've pretty much got everything that you need to play a game of AT now, but you probably want to expand that out just a little bit. Now to do this, the obvious place that you can go with this is by picking yourself up a Warlord Titan. The Warlord Titan is the big boy. Well, not quite the biggest boy, but the biggest mainstay Titan that you will be playing in a normal game of Adeptus Titanicus. These come in at £70 from Games Workshop directly, or £59.50 if you're going to be buying from somewhere like Entoyment. The Warlord Titan offers massive firepower to your force, and it's also a key component of an Axiom maniple, which is probably one of the most beginner-friendly maniples that you can play. This will give you a complete maniple to play with. A Warlord Titan, 2 Reaver Titans, 2 Warhound Titans makes up that full Axiom maniple. although it's considered a beginner's mana pool, it is still used by veterans alike. And what's really good about AT, of course, is you're not locked into any particular mana pool. You could then use this for something else in a different mana pool later on. A Warlord Titan is always a solid purchase, and if you want more Titans beyond that, buy another starter set, add more Reavers or Warhounds into your force, and that will allow you to expand even more. So you've got your mana pool, you've got your rules, and now you're ready to play a game. Well, arguably the rules for match play within the rulebook is not actually the best way to play a game, and what I would suggest you pick up now is actually a copy of the Open Engine War cards. The Open Engine War cards were really difficult to get hold of for a long time, but recently were re-released by Games Workshop. This offers a really good way of playing the game, where opponents share objectives and also can introduce a series of secondary objectives, as well as planetary effects and battlefield effects if you should choose to use them. This was the de facto way of playing the game for the longest time. When they were released, they became an incredibly important way of playing the game, with many events and tournaments basing most of their missions off of what was in there. The cards in here were a lot more balanced than what was in the original rulebook, and so as a result, these became the automatic way to play AT. Now there is another option out there, and this brings me to my number 5. However, this one in particular, unfortunately, seems to be causing a little bit of problems at the moment. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Match Play Guide. The Match Play Guide was released at the beginning of 2023. It is an absolutely brilliant supplement which introduces some really unique new rules around stratagems, as well as really improving on the asymmetric gameplay which was introduced in the original rulebook. Some would even go as far to saying it fixed the asymmetric gameplay in the original rulebook. However, recently this seems to have dropped off of Games Workshop's website. It may be that Games Workshop are republishing it, or it may be that they just haven't got around to reprinting it yet. However, if you can get hold of one of the Match Play Guides, it does offer a really good and unique way of playing the game. It became almost the de facto way of playing in events, especially tournaments, and for this to suddenly be removed from the game is very, very strange. So if you can get hold of one of these, I would recommend this as being the 5th thing that you get hold of as soon as possible. However, if you can't get hold of one of these, it's not the end of the world, and the Open Engine War card set is a very, very playable way of playing the game. So that's it, the top 5 things that you should get if you want to get into AT in 2024. But there's a few other bits and pieces as well, so what else would I recommend you getting, and maybe what I would recommend you not getting? If you want to expand your weapons beyond what is in the box sets and you want to explore some of the Forge World weapons, you are going to need to buy some of the weapon pack cards. Now at the moment, this is only really worth doing for the Reavers and for the Warlords. If you want to get macro Gatlings for the Warlords, or if you want to get warp missiles, or you want to get Vulcan Mega Bolters for the Reaver, then you're going to have to pick up some of the weapon packs. Now this doesn't break the bank. If you've just bought everything so far, discounting the Match Play Guide at the moment because we don't currently have a price on it, then you will only be looking to add £9 per pack on top of what you've already spent. And if you add up the cost of a starter set, a Legio book, Open Engine War cards, a Warlord Titan, and 2 packs of weapon cards, then buying directly from Games Workshop, you're actually going to have change of £250, with that coming in at £244.50. If you buy all of this from somebody like Entoyment, then the costs are going to be reduced even so, around about £213. This is factoring in the fact that the weapon cards and the Open Engine War cards are direct only at this particular point in time and not available directly through a local friendly gaming store. Now I said, what should you avoid? There's a lot of spangly things on their website and it's very easy to kind of just buy everything. There are 3 things in particular I would say that there is really no reason that you would ever need to buy these. And these are the Defensive Riser, Loyalist and Traitor Stratagem cards. These things seem like something which would be really useful, so why am I telling you not to buy them? The simple fact is, they're out of date. Games Workshop released these originally years ago and reprinted them at the end of last year. However, when they reprinted them, they did not update them with any of the errata or any of the FAQ changes which have come in place ever since. So at the point of recording, the stratagems would be most up to date in the FAQ packs. You can also, for a very small markup, buy yourself an app on Android or iOS. The best one that I personally have come across is one which is called Titan Toolbox. It's only £1. You can get access to every single stratagem in its most up-to-date format. This is something that a lot of people use in events, and it's super functional, really easy to use, and you have every single stratagem cards at your fingertips. And let's finish this off with a little bonus, shall we? As well as buying all of the Titans, one of the best things about the AT hobby is how easy it is to magnetize it. So I would recommend as well, before you start building and putting things together and gluing weapons in place, don't forget to buy yourself some magnets. N52s are generally the best types of neodymium magnets that you can buy for this, and they will provide you with good strength, and you can often get them from places like eBay for relatively cheap. If you are a bit daunted and don't know what to buy, you can check out our website www.maximalfire.com, and under the articles section there is an article called Magnets and the Danger Zones of Titan Assembly. We hope this has been really useful for you today, and we look forward to seeing you across the AT battlefield. It is truly one of the best games that Games Workshop supplies. We look forward to seeing a flux of new blood into this amazing community.